We got a big topic to discuss, which is obviously the inflation campaign promises, the price gouging campaign promises coming from the Harris administration, if you will, which is what I'm essentially calling the presidential administration right now. They should be taking credit for what's actually happening. Instead of giving some sort of future cast of when I'm president, I'll be able to, day one, stop your groceries from being expensive. Stop your fast food from being expensive. But no, she's not taking responsibility as the vice president, coming up with new ways to spin it and act like you're a brand new person on the campaign trail. And a lot of calls have come in about this. Phone lines are jammed right now. Let's go ahead and take them from, let's go with people who are on hold the longest. William right now is in New York. You're on the air.
Basically, I've been thinking about just how ridiculous the regulations are. Bringing down the cost of living would seem to be the wisest approach. And there are a lot of cheaper alternatives, but the Democrats just want to regulate the heck out of everything.
That's right. And as William was referencing, that a lot of the regulations that go into building has also driven up the price of housing, as well as the material cost. I mean, you saw how much lumber skyrocketed, especially after the pandemic when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were in office. But now, as they're trying to say that they are going to lower housing costs and try to bring down that number, she's also introducing plans like specific $25,000 credits and tax credits that would go for these new home buyers, which whenever you start having these mandated government things, what it ends up doing is raising the price by $25,000. So you're in effect hurting the economy, hurting the price of housing, which is out of control. Yeah. It is absolutely ridiculous how much it costs to live in the United States at this point, but they're going to harm it more than help it if they're able to get these policies through.
Kent is calling in Texas on line 1. He's watching on aclj.org.
Well, with all the controversy about how Kamala became the candidate, I'm thinking that surely the people who founded our system of government realized that it was possible for a candidate to die or become incapacitated between the nomination and the election. And there must be some standard procedure or rules for what they do in that case. And I'm wondering what those rules are. And did the Democratic Party follow them, or did they just decide to go their own way?
Sure, Kent, we can discuss that. Obviously, the decision to pick Harris was due to some of those sticky situations that could have come out of moving someone else into that slot. So we knew that it really had to be Harris just due to the campaign, the finances, and all of that. But, well, it's not necessarily standard operating procedure.
That's right. So, I mean, there are many third parties that don't have any sort of votes cast to have their nominee. The parties nominate their own candidate based off their own rules. The two largest, the Republicans and Democrats, have primaries and caucuses, but even the rules between how they pick their candidate and how the delegates are allocated are different for the two parties. But I will say one thing that the founding fathers did warn of was a great two-party system. John Adams said a division of the republic into two great parties is to be dreaded as the great political evil. So while they don't limit how the parties nominate, they were concerned that America would end up as two basically monolithic parties that can't, you're only picking one or the other, and they're the ones that rule the day.
And it's hard to believe of a time when it won't be that way. I mean, you have independent candidates pop up, but they rarely poll over 10%. And you have that with Kennedy right now. They could disrupt, but they can't win. I mean, as much as I would love to see an independent win, not necessarily this time around, but in general, just to shake things up, I just simply don't see it happening. The monsters are too big in the Republican and the Democrat Party. Let's go ahead and take one more call, at least in this segment. Stay on hold, though, if you're on hold. Let's go to Justin, who's calling in California, watching on YouTube. Justin, you're up.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. So I'm worried that Trump's going to cost himself the election here if he continues on with the personal attacks on Kamala.
Hey, yeah, Justin, look, we've been saying that for, since President Trump decided to run again, and even last time. And I honestly, I'm a little too blue in the face of it. We've said it too many times. It's just simply not going to happen. As much as I agree with you that she has a policy record that is extreme, that should be easy to dismantle, that is not the way President Trump rolls. And the more people that tell him not to roll that way, he's going to go the opposite. I don't want to be that person who goes on here and goes, do I agree with you? Yeah, I do agree. I don't necessarily agree with you that he's going to cost us of the election. But I do agree there's enough in policy to where he should be able to win just on that. But they decide, there's a lot of people who are very smart who decided, they like the name calling. They like the belittling. They like the some of the pushing that I'm really not a fan of in either side. I just think it's disgusting somewhat sometimes. It is what it is. Sadly, it's the world we live in. And you know what? It's been the world we've lived in forever. Go look up a lot of presidents that have had this. There were times where this was happening when it was all done in the press that you didn't get delivered for weeks on end. And they were going after each other, calling each other names. Founding fathers were doing it too. I don't love it, but sadly, it's the world we live in. But is it the world that I want my kids listening to the news on? No, it isn't. But that's where we're at. Cherie is calling in California. Cherie, thanks for listening. You're on the air.
Yes, hi. I would like to say that, Kamala Harris, to me, is doing the best that she can with the hand that she's been dealt with. I'm a Kamala Harris person. I'm going to vote for her. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I don't know about the lies and the disrespect, and I don't think a president should act the way that he acts.
But I do want to say something. Thank you for listening and staying on hold for a half an hour. You have just been educated and informed on issues that you may not agree with. It sounds like you don't agree with anything that we stand for here. And you know what? I am not being pejorative. I'm being serious. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this conversation.
And for being polite on the phone.
And for being polite. I'd love to see more comments like that where people say, I don't agree with these guys. But I at least have my thoughts. Look, Kamala Harris has been put in a very interesting situation. There's a reason she's avoiding press conferences. There's a reason she's avoiding any kind of interviews or statements, really, in a broad scheme. It's because she's been thrown into a loop, into a weird spot where they aren't sure how to handle it. And you know what? If you want to say she's done the best she could do, that may be very true. And if that's your point of view, that's totally fine with me.
And what I would push back with on that is that the best that she can do with the hand that's been dealt her is an admission that Bidenomics has not been great, but doubling down with price fixing and price controls from the government historically is a disaster.
Yeah,
so that is not the way to move forward. The most liberal papers in the country, Washington Post, CNN, are all saying that. So
I did see who someone's put the Washington Post, which obviously is owned by Bezos, who also, I believe, owns Whole Foods or one of those. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, no wonder he doesn't want you to cap food. The man owns grocery stores
and the most expensive
grocery stores. They're like, no, we can't be doing this. Who are we going to get our wasabi peas? Let's go. Continue on. Lynn's calling from Nevada on line 2. You're on the air.
Hi. I want to talk about President Trump's character. He was a man who built in construction for a lot of his career. He was around a lot of rough people in construction. So when you see him getting scrappy, when he's getting a little loose around the collar and it seems like the tie's coming off, don't fret, don't worry about it. That's the normal man on the scene in him. Now then, think about the results that he brings back to those people, those rough working people, those construction workers. He brings a result that is positive. He brings a result that is gaining in your family, in your family's life, and in your future.
So I appreciate your comment and calling in. I think a lot of people feel that way. They've learned to accept this is how President Trump speaks and acts, and you just got to deal with it. I have learned that I don't like it, but unfortunately, I'm not going to change his mind.
But also why a lot of people did latch on to him in the first administration was because it felt real and because he brought dignity back to blue-collar workers in a way that the Democrat Party and the Democrat elite have taken away from them.
We got incredibly important work happening here at the ACLJ. I know we can have some fun on this broadcast, and part of what we do here is that. But this work, in terms of what we're doing to push back against the pro-abortion juggernaut that still exists out there, that is bringing abortions in a truck, essentially in an RV, straight to the door of the Democratic Convention saying, sign up, get your wait list. We're fighting against an unprecedented evil here, everybody. I mean, it's just true. These aren't people who are supporting a woman's right to choose or want to encourage all options. These are people celebrating the taking of a human life, and we're going to stand up against it. And that happens in a couple different ways. All in general. We're fighting for life in all 50 states all the time. So support the work of the ACLJ by going to aclj.org. We have this specific campaign in Massachusetts, and I don't want you to think because it's Massachusetts it doesn't affect you, because they've already said they're coming for your states. That this is just state one to try to shut down pro-life pregnancy resource centers. These are centers that provide milk, that provide formula, that provide clothing, diapers, all of these essential needs to mothers who need it. And even care for fathers who need it. And they're trying to shut them down because it doesn't go with their point of view, because they may use a word like hope. They may tell people even about Jesus. Who knows? We encourage you right now. Your donations are doubled through the rest of the month. Stop this mass deception. Go to aclj.org right now.